Hello everybody, in this video I'll be painting up a Black Legion Chaos Space Marine. As usual, I start off with a base coat of Chaos Black. Once that's dry, I apply a coat of rust through the airbrush on the entire model. Once that layer is completely dry, I use a coat of chipping medium again through the airbrush, and I apply this to the entire model. I leave it to dry for about an hour, and then it still looks kind of wet, but it's dry, you can paint over it. Then I again go over the entire model, painting it black again. However, if I leave a little bit of the rust visible from the bottom side of the model, that's not really a big problem. It will enhance the effect later on. Next, I make a mixture of 1 part black and 1 part abyssal blue, and I apply and highlight to the entire model, and I do this in a zenithal way. In roughly a 45-degree angle, I spray it downwards on the areas where I want the highlight to be. Next, I add 1 part Adriatic blue to this mixture, and I repeat this process, making sure I hit smaller surfaces than in the previous layer. Using water, I'm going to activate the chipping medium that's underneath the paint, so that I can chip the model and get these top layers off, and making the rust show through the actual paint on the armor panels. Next, I make a mixture consisting of 2 parts black and 2 parts abyssal blue with 3 parts Adriatic blue and 4 parts white. It's a pretty big mixture, I had to search for it a bit. And I apply an edge highlight with this color. I edge highlight all the chips on the bottom side, and I apply some highlights inside the armor and on the shoes and the most visible edges, like on the backpack. Next, using Parasite Brown, I make an outline for the hazard stripes on the chainsword. This is then followed by a layer of scrofulous brown, and I nearly paint over the entire surface that's Parasite Brown. Then I make a mixture of 2 parts scrofulous brown and 1 part white, and I highlight all the yellow stripes on the chainsword. Then next, by adding 1 part white to this mixture, I apply edge highlights to the yellow stripes. Next, using black metal, I'm going to block in all the metallic parts on the model. Once dry, I wash all the metallic parts using non-oil. This will give a nice shaded effect. Once the non-oil is dry, I use gunmetal, and I apply a highlight with the gunmetal to all the metallic parts. And to finish the metallics off, I'm going to apply a thinner highlight using silver to all the metallic areas. I want to really make certain areas shine because of the next stages we're going to apply using the rust washes. To make the model more dirty, it will tone all the colors down a lot. So then I used rust streaks from AK Interactive and I mixed it with white spirit to roughly this consistency, but you can make it darker or lighter just what your preference is. And I just washed the entire model with it. After leaving it to dry for like roughly 24 hours, I took anthracite gray and I used this to block in the bolter casing. This was then followed by a wash of Nuln oil to achieve the shading effect on the casing. And once that's dry, I took anthracite gray again and I applied a rough highlight to the entire bolter casing. Just making sure I didn't touch the deepest recesses. I then made a mixture of 3 parts anthracite gray and 1 part white, and I applied an edge highlight to the bolter casing. Next, using old copper, I blocked in all the golden parts, like the trims and small shell casings on the shell belt underneath the bolter. I just made sure every part wasn't metallic. Got painted now in the gold color. And once that's dry, I used Airbrush Earthshade to apply a shade to all the golden parts. Next, using Dwarven Gold, I apply a highlight to all these golden parts, and I make sure I don't hit the deepest recesses, just highlighting everything carefully up. And then next, using silver, I apply fine edge highlights to the golden parts on the most raised and most outer, the areas on the most outer sides of the model. This will achieve a shining effect on those areas, and after the next stage it will get toned a bit down, so it will look a nice shiny gold on those areas. So onto the next stage, using Seraphim Sepia, I wash all the golden parts once again. This makes the gold a bit more warmer, and it helps turning the silver into a more gold-like color, so you get a nice shine on those edges. Next, I went on and painted the red parts. I used dark flesh tone as a base color for this, and I painted the hairs with it. And then I took gory red. I lost the footage of the actual painting, but after that layer it looks like this. Is just go over it again, just get that color on there. And the dark flesh tone is just as a base where it can actually be painted on easy. Next, using Carroburg Crimson, I wash it and have the shading in place. And then it's back to the gory red, applying a highlight to the hairs. You can also do this by dry brushing, but I prefer just painting hairs in. It's a bit more precise, but it takes a bit more practice to get it done. Once that layer has been applied, I move on to bloody red, and I go and reinforce this previous highlight by just strengthening the color up in the areas where I feel it needs a bit more, a bit deeper red tone. Next, I used Adriatic blue and I painted in the eyes, or I should say the lenses in the helmet. This is then followed by a thin white line in the center of the eye, using that white. And then using Gilliman blue, I apply a thin glaze, and in case you apply too much, you can just, with a dry brush in the corner of the eye, just soak it up a bit, like I did. Next, I went back to the armor because I didn't like the edge highlight, so I made a mixture of 1 part black, 1 part abyssal blue, 2 parts Adriatic blue and 4 parts white, and I went over a number of the edge highlights again, just to make them appear a bit more. They got washed away by the oil wash we used before. Then there was the skulls left to paint, so I blocked the skulls in using earth. And once dried, I washed them using Airbrush earth shade. As you can see, I already painted the base. The base has been painted by using an airbrush and just spraying model color tan earth on it. Model color tan earth, which is then followed by a dry brush of model color beige. After the Airbrush earth shade, I went back to the earth again and I applied a rough highlight to the skulls, just making sure the deepest recesses keep their nice dark color, and then build up the earth color. This is then followed by a highlight consisting of 1 part earth and 1 part bone white. Following the same method, I build up the color. I leave a little bit of the earth visible to get a transition. Then I went on and used the pure bone to reinforce this previous layer, again leaving little bits of the previous layers visible so that the transition gets built up a bit better. And as a final layer, I made a mixture of 1 part bone white and 1 part dead white, and I reinforced it once again, just on the most visible parts of the model, most outer edges. After this, I dull coated the model, and then I applied some weathering powder to the base and some tufts, and I applied some blood to the chainsword. You'll see the chainsword in a second, and I applied a big splatter of blood on the front, and then I carefully went around on the blades to get a bit of blood in there as well, so that it looks like it actually hit something. And while the chain was running, if it's all in one place, it will look like just use the chainsword as a blunt weapon. So this is the end result. I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe if you want to. Leave a comment if you want to as well. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.